Start with a virus. Import it into America. Talk about it non-stop. Call some governors. Not them. Not them. That's your guys. Put patients into nursing homes. Kill thousands. Blame the president. Keep blaming. Blame some more. Lock down small business. Kill the economy. Push mail-in voting. Stoke a race war. Call for riots. Pick a candidate. No, not her. Yeah, that's more like it. Lock him in his basement. Shield him from the press. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Keep doing that. Ignore the economic recovery. Downplay the world peace. Pump the polls. Pump, pump. Don't stop pumping. Install your software in swing states. That was fast. Take control of polling stations. Call off the election when you're losing. Kick everyone out. Pull out all the extra ballots. Get the software to do its thing. Get the media to say it's over. Call the big tech guys. Ban anyone who notices. Act like the whole thing never happened. Stealing the most powerful republic in the world. It's that easy.
It's that easy. Remember that classic video? Yeah, I think it might be relatable tonight with some of the stuff I'm going to dig into. So how is everybody tonight? Welcome. I want to see who's in chat. Let's see who we've got. We've got Rocker Lady, Sammy, In God We Trust, Natalie. So good to see you guys. And we have, I see Herbie and Magnolia. Man, you guys are lighting up the chat tonight. Hope I'm not going to miss anybody. But welcome, everybody. I'm really excited you're with me. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Sorry, I'm sharing my screen. I don't even have anything to share yet. So I just want to say welcome to Questions Worth Pondering. This is where I pose questions related to the current and historical events. I'm your host, Nez, for anybody who might not have joined us before. And in today's episode, what are we asking? We have a question worth pondering. Will they try another pandemic for the 2024 elections? Basically, I'm asking, are they going to be so stupid to try to use their old playbook on this election this year? Let's find out. And then I'll tell you what I think at the end, but that's the question I think we need to ask. You can consider supporting me by leaving a Rumble rant. On Rumble, you can also subscribe as a monthly subscriber. And I want to thank Natalie and Magnolia and Craig. You guys are my monthly subscribers. I appreciate you. Or you can buy me a coffee. I think I have... here, let me get my link up for Linktree here. It's Linktree/NevsTV. That's where you can buy me a coffee. All right, let's dig in, shall we? I kind of want to go back in time. I think I've been doing that a lot on the shows lately, is saying, oh, let's take a step down memory lane. And that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go back to the year 2005. And back in 2005, I'll share my screen in a second here, the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, they put out, let me share my screen here, the second meeting of the International Health Regulations 2005 Emergency Committee regarding the multi-country outbreak of monkeypox. We're going to be talking a lot about monkeypox tonight. But let me see where I've got. Okay, I know I have to search for something on here. I want to find something specifically, and the reason I'm going back to 2005 is because I want to talk about what their narrative is around monkeypox today, which is different than it was in 2005. So, down here. So one of the things, what this was they had recommendations on how to handle the monkeypox. I'm not going to go through that detail, but I am going to cover a couple of things here. So first thing was they wanted to, maybe I should make this bigger so you can see it better. I don't know how well you guys can see my screen. That's probably better. So 1E was they wanted to raise awareness about monkeypox transmission related to prevention and protective measures and symptoms and signs of monkeypox among communities that are currently affected elsewhere in this multi-country outbreak. So the thing I want to call out here is, importantly but not exclusively, the gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men. They call that MSM, which is kind of funny considering mainstream media, or individuals with multiple sexual partners, as well as among other population groups that may be at risk, like sex workers and transgender people. Also in here, if I just do a search for the word sex, not to gross you guys out, but a lot of what they have in here is they talk about sexual health, sex on premises venues, and sex with men, bisexual, the number of sexual partners. So basically, they're really highlighting here the fact that monkeypox is spread through sexual, like a sexual transmitted disease. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is in today's narrative, which I don't have like media or video or anything on that, they're trying to change, they're trying to say it's different. And I'll tell you why. Because last week, I think, or maybe it was this week, my days are getting away from me, I posted about how a lot of children in Africa are getting monkeypox. And we're posing the question, why? Why are children getting impacted if it's a sexually transmitted disease? And because people started posing that question, they're now saying, well, we think it can be transmitted through just through the air. You know, they're trying to change what they said in the past. And anyway, that's just kind of suspicious. So I wanted to bring that up back in 2015, what they talked about. The other thing is the NTI, which is the nuclear, what is it? The nuclear, what are they called? Nuclear Threat Initiative or something. Yeah, Nuclear Threat Initiative is the NTI. So if I talk about NTI moving forward in this show, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's an organization, and they have been involved in doing simulations on potential pandemic outbreaks. It's like, why, if they're the Nuclear Threat Initiative? That's another thing. I'm going to go to their YouTube. We're going to look at them a little bit. But back in 2019, they put out a spreading plague, lessons and recommendations for responding to a deliberate biological event. Now, the plague they chose for this, but this is what I found when they started doing, like, we need to prepare for epidemics and pandemics and that kind of stuff. This just so happened to happen in June of 2019. This paper went out. And then a few months later, we had that Event 201 where they were doing the simulation on the SARS virus, COVID virus. And so this was the earliest one I could find. But the interesting thing to me is it's from the NTI. And the NTI had a simulation that they put out. Maybe I won't go there yet. I'm trying to decide if I want to go there yet. I'm going to wait. But just remember that Event 201 happened in 2019 as well. And I'm going to get caught up on chat really quick. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Hey, I want you guys asking questions worth pondering. If you have questions or you think, Rocker Lady, you said they're destroying the kids in Africa. Yes. That is very true. I don't know, it's like, what are they doing to the kids, right? Yeah, how are the kids getting it? Hey, Pocket Friend. Hey, so good to see you, Red. Yep, sexually transmitted disease. That's right. But the interesting thing is that they have been saying that the smallpox vaccine works for monkeypox, and it's going to be, we're going to have some more questions worth pondering as we get to that, but I'll just continue. So that NTI paper came out about spreading the plague, and I might have highlighted some of that, so let me just check really quick to see if I had a highlight on there before I move on to the next thing. I don't think I did. All right, so we're going to move to 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. I don't need to go over all of that. But what I do want to share is a post from BioClandestine. On X, he's just clandestine, I believe. But he posted on Telegram. He posted a video, which I do have the video, and I can play that video after we go through his post here. But he says, just to be clear, monkeypox or bird flu don't actually have to be legitimate threats in order for the deep state to accomplish their goals. They just need an excuse to put more mail-in ballots in circulation. So basically what they need to do is to find a reason to be able to say there's an emergency, no matter what that emergency is, to be able to have that excuse to put mail-in ballots in circulation. So he says here, they just need a global health emergency on paper in order to act emergency powers. And then Democrat governors can send out millions of mail-in ballots to every registered voter. And to be honest, some states put into law that they're just going to send out registrations to people, mail-in registration or mail-in voting ballots to people, whether or not they ask for them. If you're registered to vote, you get a ballot mailed to your house. I think, are they doing that in California? I don't know all the states they're doing that in. But basically, then he says here, they harvest the ballots, stop counting in the swing states at 3 a.m. on election night, then deliver the harvested ballots to Democrat districts in contested swing states, and the steal is on, just like we experienced in 2020. That's why I played that video as the intro today. And that's how they did it in 2020. California alone supplied 20 million mail-in ballots that were sent to everyone on the voter rolls. For reference, the Georgia election was decided by 11,000 votes, Wisconsin 20, and Arizona 45. So he said Trump tried to warn us back then too. So I'm going to quick play that video from him that he had connected to that post. Let's watch real quick.
Mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
He's tweeted about it, and he's talked about it on the record.
There's fraud, there's missing ballots.
The president has not shied away from making his views clear on vote by mail. As of now, 41 states will allow vote by mail this November. 8 of those states will mail a ballot application in advance, while 7, including California, will automatically send the ballot to every registered voter on file. This is different from traditional absentee voting, in which voters specifically had to request a ballot in the mail. To the contrary, this November, many more people who never requested a ballot but are on the official rolls are set to receive one of these. Trump and Governor Newsom feel very differently on this topic.
The reality is mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, are well utilized all across the spectrum, all across this country, and have been done so thoughtfully and safely for a generation.
So Washington, it's all mail-in voting only? Really? Really? Is that true? Same as in Colorado, get mail-in ballots for every election. By the way, if you are on Twitter or YouTube, I will say most of the chat happens on Rumble. If you want to join us over there and chat with us, that would be awesome. Or if you want to put a comment on Twitter or on YouTube in chat, then I will see it and I'll be able to show your comments from there as well. All right, so we'll move on. Let's move forward now to 2021. Now they ended up stealing the election, and in my opinion, just to say that as a disclaimer, it's my opinion. It's pretty obvious. Wait, it's pretty obvious. Before I go to 2021, if anybody's looking at everything from the 40,000 foot view, it's so obvious. Anyone who denies that because they call us election deniers, I'm going to call them election deniers because they're denying the election was rigged. And anyone who doesn't see that either isn't paying attention to what's going on, or they know it was and they refuse to admit it because they're for it. Even if my guy won, like if Trump won and I thought, we had evidence that he stole the election or rigged it, I would not be in support. I would not support that. I just wouldn't. I don't get what's going on with some of these people. And the reason is because it's not just what we saw in 2020, it's everything that started when Trump came down that escalator and they started with the Russia stuff. Russia. They have been trying to do a coup on Trump since before he was even elected. They did the Russia thing. They spied on his campaign, tried to set him up. They tried to impeach him twice, once for a phone call, which is so ridiculous. And they would never let us know who that whistleblower was, supposed whistleblower. And I don't think they realized that he would release his transcript on it. But they kept going after him. And then they tried to go after him for January 6th. They tried to impeach him for that. You can see. You can just see. And then everything that happened with COVID, like COVID just happens to hit an election year. And suddenly we have lockdowns and mail-in ballots and all the things where they're blocking the windows and they won't let observers get close enough to be able to see what's going on, which is actually illegal. All of that, without even seeing the counts and the shenanigans behind the counts, makes it so obvious that they were doing a coup. It was a coup, a well-organized coup at that. All right, I'm off my rant. Sorry, I kind of went a little crazy there for that. So, all right, let's move on. 2021 then came, and it was like they wanted to keep COVID going. They kept coming up with new variants, and remember all the variants that they had. So I've got this article from 2021. How dangerous are the new COVID-19 variants? This is from May 2021. I was surprised they kept that going for so long because they accomplished their goal, you know? Anyway, I'm going to cover what I've highlighted here. First of all, they kept doing this, and how dangerous is it? And they kept trying to stoke the fear and put that kind of stuff out there. Oh, Herbie, you loved my rant? Thank you, Herbie. Oh, it'll be fun when we can all get together in person and just all rant together. All right, let me read this real quick. Scientists report the discovery of an entire new coronavirus in Malaysia, one that likely came from dogs. Dogs. They said this. They said this came from dogs. It doesn't cause COVID-19, but it could just be the 8th coronavirus ever known to make people sick. So these are the kind of articles that were coming out in 2021. I'm still going down memory lane. I haven't even gotten to what I need to get to. All right. Now I am going to get to the simulations and stuff around that. So with the NTI, believe it or not, there was some mainstream media that put out articles about how monkeypox was a tabletop simulation. The year before, they claimed there was an epidemic, and they put a call out as an emergency for monkeypox back in 2022. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they did that. Look at this monkey picture. I might have to save this photo, actually. I might have to meme this. I'm totally memeing this monkey. All right. So this came out in 2022 and talked about how in 2021 there was a simulation. So I'm going to show that simulation, but it was pretty interesting that this was reported here. The other thing, guess who else reported this, guys? You're not going to believe who reported this. Newsweek. Newsweek actually reported. Reports simulating deadly monkeypox outbreak was released 6 months ago. Can you believe that Newsweek put this out? So yeah, May of 2022, they declared an emergency. The WHO did, and let me see, 2022, they said there was a multi-country outbreak of monkeypox, just like they said in 2005. They used the exact same words too. A multi-country outbreak of monkeypox. And they put this out there, and they also declared a health emergency, or whatever that declaration is that they do, declares an ongoing monkeypox outbreak at a public health emergency of international concern, just like they put out for us. So that was in 2022. Now, in 2021, the NTI did a simulation. And that's what I want to find that simulation. What did I call it? Hang on one second. I got to look at my... Oh, okay. This is... Here. Okay. I'm going to show the simulation. And then I want to talk a little bit more about that.
There are growing questions today around a new and deadly outbreak. Scientists determined that this monkeypox virus was engineered. With limited antiviral drugs and no known effective treatments, countries around the world are struggling to control another pandemic with already devastating effects.
We're seeing far fewer cases in countries where governments took early and decisive action.
And some international experts are urging the WHO to adopt a phased approach to warnings.
Okay, so that was from NTI. Pretty incredible that they put that out, and just the following year they had a monkeypox outbreak, and they happened to use monkeypox for their simulation. That was their newscast. Remember, Event 201 had a similar thing, and theirs was SARS. It was a COVID, and they just happened to use COVID right before COVID hit. They just happened to use monkeypox right before monkeypox hit. And they actually said that it was just a coincidence. Let me see if I can find that, because the fact checkers out there were trying to say that it was just a coincidence. I wonder if this is it. Maybe not. Okay, well, there was a fact check out there. And the fact checkers were trying to help say that it was just a coincidence. So, all right, so I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I think I want to explain the NTI. And I have a video here where they're explaining what the NTI is, and then I want to go to the NTI's YouTube page and show you a couple of things. So I'm just queuing up a video here.
The Nuclear Threat Initiative, NTI, is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization committed to reducing dangers that stem from chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons and materials. It was founded 10 years ago by U.S. Senator Sam Nunn and entrepreneur Ted Turner. And our model is a little bit different from traditional think tanks, which do independent research and analysis and try to recommend things to governments. We do that, but we also have the resources and the know-how to actually implement projects. And so in that way, we have what we call demonstration projects, where when governments are unable to fill certain gaps in terms of addressing these problems, NTI is able to implement these projects and pave the way for governments to follow.
Okay, that's not creepy at all. So imagine a nonprofit. You know, she said specifically that there are think tanks, and this is like a think tank out there. It's a nonprofit NGO, and they said the difference between them and other nonprofits is they can literally implement what they're suggesting, basically. So she explained to NTI. I'm going to go to their homepage on YouTube, because what's interesting is if I look at their videos, so it's the Nuclear Threat Initiative. And I sorted by the oldest because I wanted to see, so they've been around, I mean, they've been on YouTube for like 14 years. And if I scroll down, all of these videos 14 years ago, they're all about nuclear threats. Every single one of them. Nothing about biological threats, pandemics, none of that. It's all about nuclear until a certain time. So their very first video that I could find that talks about any kind of biological threat is 8 years ago. June 15th, 2016. That's when they started putting biothreat videos out on YouTube. Is that not curious? What, like, in all these years, 14 years, it just so happens that for the 2016 election year is when they started focusing on biothreats. So this is the first one that they had that I could find.
Infectious diseases kill more than 17 million people each year. Yet the biological agents responsible for them typically make headlines only during unusually horrifying epidemics, like the Ebola outbreak of 2014, or following a terrorist incident, such as the 2001 anthrax letter attacks in the United States. The biothreat, whether from pandemic disease or biological weapons, is one of the most serious global security challenges today.
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like 2.5 minutes long. But I found that to be curious. And especially the fact that NTI put forth a simulation similar to the Event 201 simulation. It was like, it was almost produced in the same kind of format. All right, let me get back, because I was going down memory lane. All right, we hit Brownstone talking about it. New York Post also posted about how they predicted it the year before. All right. So they also have a website. They put this out November 23rd, 2021. This YouTube video they have linked on this page is where I got that simulation clip that I pulled. But yeah, basically it's kind of crazy. It was March 17th, 2021. And almost exactly a year later is when the monkeypox emergency was declared. It wasn't really emergency, but... All right. This was a part of their simulation. This is on their website. And they have all these scenarios as a part. So the simulation was mostly a report, and then they had that clip that I played as a fake newscast for the simulation. So they've got scenarios here like, and I'm only pulling this up not to have to bore you and go through the whole chart with you, but the interesting thing is not only did they say it was monkeypox, they also said the first attack would be in May of 2022. Monkeypox happened to be either talked about or declared an emergency in May of 2022. What a coincidence. Yep. Seriously. Oh, Carrie joined us. Hey, Carrie. I don't know if I missed anybody else. I think I got read. Yeah, it's good for you to join us. All right. So, yes, this May 2022 is the thing that caught my attention. You guys can check out all their various scenarios, but basically they have like a CNN death counter on here. And what's interesting is, well, I wonder if I have her. I might have her post. Melissa .connectinganons posted about how monkeypox. It was being reported that there won't be lockdowns and there won't be any impacts coming up in the future. There wouldn't be any quarantines or lockdowns. And Melissa put in her post, no shit. but I'm going to share more information with you because there are shenanigans going on. Shenanigans. Yes, not a coincidence. That's right. Whoopsie. The chat was moving on me. Where is my magnolia? Oh my goodness. All right, not a coincidence. Coordinated and planned. That's right, Magnolia. You got it right. All right, I'm going to continue. And if I find Melissa's post, I will share it. But she basically said that. But I've got some interesting things that they are doing. It's kind of crazy. All right. Where am I? Chart. All right. Oh, I do have the fact checkers here. Yes. Oh, I found the fact checkers, guys. All right. Debunking false claims that the monkeypox outbreak was planned. This is France's English channel.
Not the truth or fake. It means we go to Catalina Marchand Debrah. Good evening to you. Great to see you. Now, today we're discussing monkeypox. Social media users claiming that the monkeypox outbreak was planned. Truth or fake?
Indeed, Mark, we're experiencing a new virus outbreak with monkeypox.
Do you know she never addressed that claim throughout this whole thing, which I'm not going to make you guys sit through because it's almost 5 minutes long. But he says real or fake, and she never answered him. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got more fact checkers here. Monkeypox simulation event doesn't mean the outbreak was planned. They did this for Event 201 too. Remember all the fact checkers for Event 201? I remember that. I didn't have anything highlighted in this one. And then we've got PolitiFact. The current monkeypox outbreak was planned by governments and industry leaders, and I think, and then no evidence that the outbreak was planned. Anyway, it's pretty funny. The fact checkers kind of cracked me up. I'm actually thinking about fact checking the fact checkers a little bit more often. But that, I finally found that. Sorry for that it was late. That I found it late. All right. And I don't know if I need this one. Oh, this is just somebody had posted that chart. I found the original so I could show you guys the bigger one. Okay, I want to ask if you were paying attention to that video for their simulation. One of the things they said is it was created in a lab. I don't know, did you guys hear that part? Or that it was man-made, or something referring to it being created, not being a natural thing. And so that was interesting to me because I have to find. I have so many things here. All right, there's a couple of things that I want to highlight from Congress. The first one is that they sent a letter. I have two things, and I really need to get better at naming my stuff so I can find things easier. Okay. This was back in November 3rd, 2022. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. This was back in November 3rd, 2022. And this was sent to Rochelle Walensky. This is so interesting. It just makes me think of COVID. We write to request information about the flawed CDC diagnostic testing procedures for monkeypox virus. This follows a similar CDC breakdown during the pandemic response when CDC distributed faulty and contaminated COVID-19 test kits in February of 2020. So they're questioning the testing of monkeypox. So could they be saying that there is monkeypox out there and the tests are faulty and giving false positives? And if that's the case, would that be intentional? Kind of like how they changed. What did they do with the COVID vaccines? Didn't they have it where it had to spin like so many times and they did it too many so that no matter what test you did, it would probably show up as positive? So there were questions around that. And then that's who. Where is my other? All right, I'll get to the other thing from Congress, but there was a question directed towards the fact that Congress wasn't getting the information that they were asking for, and the agencies were refusing to testify. Sound familiar? Just like some of the other things. So I really want to find that. But I'm just going to go in order of how I have things in here. But I want to get back to, because I have some videos around the bioweapon stuff. So I'm going to get to that. But before I do, I want to talk about how the CDC begged mainstream media to be putting a narrative out there. So I'm going to go to X, and there's a video I want to play for you guys. Oh, no, it's not a video. Where is that? Shoot. I can't find the article. I thought I had a video. Basically, okay, sorry. CDC reached out to mainstream outlets and asking them to provide information to the public to warn them about monkeypox. And I think I saved it wrong or removed my bookmark for it. And it was Rochelle. And there was a Texas school shooting that happened, and everybody stopped talking about monkeypox and everybody started talking about the school shooting because, of course, you know, they have to be able to talk about how they need to remove our guns, right? So CDC reached out to MSM and asked to make sure that they were making information available to the public, which I thought was kind of crazy. Now, I do... All right, I've got a video that I am going to pull up, and it is a interview with Rochelle. And she's going to speak here a little bit about the COVID variants. And the reason I'm talking about COVID along with monkeypox is because they're similar. It's the same thing. It's like they're trying to push specific narratives to get something put out there or try. I don't know if they're trying or if they're testing. Sometimes I feel like they're testing to see what would the public do or what would the news media do, you know? I can't even get this thing to load. Hang on. I'm having technical difficulties. All right, here we go. Why won't it go to full screen? There we go.
Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb criticized the federal response earlier this week. You said his comments were, quote, misinformed and off base. To outside experts and some administration officials I've spoken with, it does look like the CDC is repeating some of the same mistakes from earlier in the COVID pandemic. Can you say categorically that the CDC has a better handle on this virus than it did on COVID in the earlier days of that pandemic?
Let me say a few things about those comments and your question. First, we're in a very different situation with monkeypox. It's a very different disease, a very different virus than SARS-CoV-2. With monkeypox, we are standing on the shoulders of decades of research that has happened here at the CDC. We had a test for it that was already approved, and we launched that test. We were able to do immediately 6,000 tests throughout the country per week, scaled that up to 10,000 tests in the country per week, and now we're up to about 70,000 tests that we're able to do in the country per week. And just to give you a sense of where we are, we get right now about 3,000 samples a week to test. So one of the things that we've really had to do, in addition to our ability to scale up, is to do some teaching around the country to tell patients how monkeypox will present so that they can go present for care, and to teach providers and clinicians what to look for and how to do the test for monkeypox. But I do want to articulate that.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is a really long video. I'm not going to show her too long, but basically, I don't know where it is because this is such a long video. It's a 30-minute video and we're only on 21 minutes. So I think I might have saved it at the wrong spot. But basically what they're trying to do is they were pushing for vaccines. And that's what I want to highlight on the monkeypox stuff. I want to know, why are they pushing for people to get monkeypox vaccines? And the African CDC is really pushing for monkeypox vaccines. They're asking for a ton of funding, and I'm actually going to go to them right now. What they put in their... Let's hope it loads. Okay. This was 2 weeks ago. They said, with just 200,000 mpox vaccine doses available out of 10 million needed. They said they needed 10 million 2 weeks ago. I just heard today that they want 80 million. They want 80 million vaccines. And this is their post on LinkedIn from 2 weeks ago. And if you go to their homepage on LinkedIn, I am going to make this bigger for you guys. Well, I have a question. Everything's mpox now. Why did they change the name from monkeypox to mpox? That's a question. I have no idea. Is it because it's called monkeypox and we can meme the crap out of it? Maybe. Maybe. All right. Look at here how they've changed also how you can get it. Direct exposure on skin, inhalation of infectious particles, sharing clothing with infected people. They've completely changed how you can get monkeypox. Completely changed it. I wanted to show all their... Is that 11 hours ago? They are such globalists, the African CDC. They talk about equity and environment. Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to show. A One Health approach recognizes the interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health. What does that have to do with monkeypox? It says their One Health strategy is crucial in tackling monkeypox, which is interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health. go through their LinkedIn because it's very globalist. They talk a lot about equity, that kind of stuff. So that's the African LinkedIn, African CDC LinkedIn. All right. What else do I got? 2022 monkeypox. All right. So the mainstream media is helping the CDC with their narrative. This is Benjamin Ryan. He's a writer for the Washington Post and New York Times, New York Sun. He also contributes to the Atlantic, Guardian, MSM, basically. He says, Rochelle Walensky, CDC director, reports that an early analysis suggests that people are eligible for the vaccine. This vaccine is for monkeypox, but who did not receive the vaccine were 14 times more likely to contract monkeypox. So this was back in 2022. He posted this. And they were actually giving this vaccine out to people in New York City. Do you guys remember that, New York City? How they were pushing people to get the monkeypox vaccine? And it wasn't even a problem here in the United States. So I just wanted to call out that Washington Post writer was helping the CDC with their narrative. NTI also put out a statement, an FAQ regarding their security conference, and they called it a tabletop exercise, but it was a simulation. I don't know. I'm scrolling fast. You'll have to forgive me. I just want to see if I have anything highlighted. If I don't, I'm just going to try to move on because I have some interesting things to get to. All right. They also declared, did a declaration with the World Health Organization in 2022, not just recently. And I already showed that. Then in 2023, and let me look at the exact date here. I think it was August of 2023. I believe this was August of 2023. Oh, it's May 2023. WHO says that monkeypox is no longer a global health emergency. It never was. It never was. But I wanted to call this out because there are reports and videos of Dr. Malone saying that WHO declared it was no longer a global health emergency 2 days before they did the new declaration, which is not accurate. It was back in May of 2023. So I'm kind of fact-checking our own community here. But yeah, they then a year later, of course, they declare another health emergency. But 2023, it was no longer a health emergency. All right, so that's kind of the history before we get to today. Now, I want to call out the fact that, well, we'll just talk about how we recently had it declared a health emergency today. And so the WHO put out that declaration recently. That was this month in August. They said it constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. Under the international health regulations, I didn't even know there were international health regulations from 2005. And I think that's all I might have highlighted on this page. All right. They put a plan out there, though. I'm going to put, they also had I've got some stuff highlighted here. They have a response plan that they prepared. I think it was on August 14th. Let me Check. Nope, this was August 26th. This was recently. So they put out this response plan just yesterday, and it's going over what their plan is. So this plan covers a period from September 2024 through February 2025. Why September? Like it's August right now. Oh, look at what they envision though. They have $135 million they need for this plan, guys. $135. The other thing that they said they're going to use the money for is to implement comprehensive surveillance. I wonder what that entails. Is that tracking the people who have monkeypox? Prevention, readiness. Prevention probably is vaccines. Readiness and response strategies, advancing research, and equitable access to medical countermeasures. What is equitable access? Why do they, this whole equitable thing, it's not about equality. It's just kind of crazy. And then they say here, strategic vaccination efforts will focus on individuals at the highest risk, including close contact of recent cases. So I'm real sus of this vaccine, as you probably know. Ever since COVID, I've been sus of any vaccine. I know they've had the smallpox vaccine out for a long time. So I'm not sure if they use any kind of DNA, mRNA technology in those or genetic modifications in those at all. I haven't gone that far to do that research. I'm sure some other people have. If you guys have heard that that's been done, then let me know in chat. Let me see. Who talked about it on Telegram about getting the COVID booster and the mpox jab? Who was that? All right. I'll try to catch up with chat. It's delayed, so I might not see your answer. Sorry. All right. So, the WHO is going to be hosting a virtual scientific conference on the 29th through the 30th of August. So that's this week, guys. That is this Thursday and Friday. So I'm going to be paying attention to that conference. I don't know if it's virtual, so I'm assuming they're going to have it online. I don't know why I highlighted in two different colors here. Sorry about that. I wanted to highlight that they have equity again here. The principles of equity, and the WHO headquarters and regional offices have established incident management support teams to lead preparedness. So they're putting these WHO teams together, and they're significantly scaling up staff to those affected countries. So 2024 WHO response. All right. This one really got me. I want to get to the bioweapons. All right. So this was this month as well. This was from the WEF. They said 4 global risks to look out for in the post-pandemic era. That this is heightened global risk and unpredictable shock events are coming, guys. Shock events. And that there is a lingering pandemic health crisis. And you know what it's exacerbated by? Climate and AI. Climate. Oh my goodness. Yes. Rocker Lady asked, what if changing our DNA does separate us from God? Nothing can separate us from God. Nobody is that powerful. Nobody can separate you from God. God would not allow that and would not make it possible. So I'm just telling you that's not possible. So I wouldn't be like, don't be fearful of these people who have sinister stuff happening. Don't be fearful at all. They can't do anything to impact you in your relationship with God. All right, I'm going to show what I've got highlighted here. So, you know, I went down a rabbit hole, so I am talking about more than monkeypox tonight. But here's my thought. This is the World Economic Forum. They are talking about the 4 global risks. They're talking about how power disperses in a post-superpower era. They're predicting, they are futurists here in this article, they're predicting the United States is, you know, I don't even know if it's prediction or just hope for them, but they do not want the United States to be a superpower. You guys have to read this article. I am going to shoot it out, but there's a couple of things I want to go through in this article. Even up here, actually, it says, look for other actors to step up more to fill the leadership void. They're saying there's going to be a leadership void, including geopolitical swing states leveraging rare earth minerals like Ghana to reduce dominance of superpowers. They want to reduce the dominance of the superpowers, which they consider, I think, the United States, China, and Russia. I think that's what the goal is. Yes, nothing can separate us from God. That's right. That's right. All right. And they said smaller states like Scotland are using climate funding as a foreign policy tool. Why would climate funding be a foreign policy tool? The global south is moving away from trading in the U.S. dollar. So see how they're pointing to the United States here? Even attempting a new blockchain payment system. And tech firms and leaders driving change largely unchecked. Frankly, we've noticed this trend before, but this may be the official start of a post-superpower era shaped increasingly and unpredictably by other players, regardless of the outcome of the U.S. election. So that very clearly points to them wanting to topple the U.S. They want the U.S. to not be powerful, and they are worried about the upcoming election. I mean, this just tells you that right here, flat out. So let me see if I have anything else highlighted here. Yeah. Therapists say climate change is generating a new type of anxiety. This one got me. Okay. Here are the shock events, guys. This is what I really wanted to get to in this article, but I couldn't help but point out the fact that they are fearing the election and they want the U.S. to not be a superpower. You know what's interesting about that? I'm going to digress for a minute, because this just came to my mind right now. The World Economic Forum promoting the U.S. not being a superpower. The other superpowers are Russia and China. And what's interesting is those are the two countries that the left is insisting are the nations that want to bring the United States down. They're very against Russia and China, and the mainstream media is against Russia and China. And here we've got the WEF wanting the United States to not be a superpower. They're talking about promoting these smaller countries to sort of take over some of the things the United States does today. So is it really the globalists that want to relay a narrative that Russia and China are bad so that the United States can go after Russia and China, while everybody else will go after the United States, so that those three superpowers can all be taken down through strategy, basically. So that just popped in my mind right now. But let's talk about the shock events. And I'm sorry I'm going a little bit over tonight, but we're to 2024 now, so no worries. I've got biolabs to cover after 2024 news and the bioweapons, and it's important because it's related to what's happening now with big tech and what's going on with big tech. So let's just quick talk about these shock events. So they've got an era of shock events, that this is a global legitimacy crisis. Look for global risks to be further exacerbated by they like that word, by unexpected destabilizing shock events. Briefly, here are the 3 shock events to consider. A new global extremist group emerges. That narrative? You notice that narrative, guys? With the world distracted with multiple major wars and leadership in decline, this could be an opportunistic time for a new extremist group to make its mark. Now, I don't know who wrote this, but he's basically being like a futurist, kind of like Yuval Harari, who advises Klaus Schwab. He is a futurist, and he almost talks about things like he says this is going to happen and this is going to happen, but it's almost like it's hopeful that that's what they hope will happen, or he's trying to predict. So not prophecy, but futurist, because it's more of philosophical, it's not religious. All right, let's continue. Perhaps it will be even leveraging AI tools to kick off a new phase of terrorism. And then their second shock event is a cyber pandemic. Oh, remember we were talking about predictive programming and all those movies that came out last year talking about a civil war, and it was going to be instigated by cyber attacks? Well, this futurist is also predicting, just like those movies, that a massive global IT outage was not terrorism, but simply a faulty software update. Yes, that happened. And it costs people money. But they're trying to say that there's going to be a cyber pandemic that is intentional. And they see hints of it with what happened in July with, what was that company where the whole internet went down? I don't remember the name of the company. All right, and then the third shock event, climate change. It will claim the climate change claims its first island nation in the post-pandemic era. So these shock events are hints as to what's going to come in the future. All right. I want to give credit for that article to Pepe Deluxe. He posted this, and he said they recently released this ominous article warning that we have to prepare. And, yeah. But I wanted to give credit where credit's due. And then, I already shared that. So, I did find, so Melissa, I got this post from Melissa, Connecting Anons. She posted this. I don't know if she posted it on her channel or We the Media, but we have this WHO official. Monkeypox is not the new COVID-19. Lockdowns are not likely. That's where she said, no shit, Sherlock. So shout out to Melissa, who is awesome. I don't know how she does what she does, guys. I don't know how she does it. All right. I think I'm going to skip this. We got to this. I'm going to get right into the bioweapons now. I have two things to cover. I have the bioweapons. So the simulation referenced that it would be a bioweapon of mpox. And gosh darn it, I thought I saved. I'm going to have to post it. I really want to find that article that, you know what? I think I know where it is. Yes, I found it, guys. I found it. I'm going to open it in my browser. I saved it to my computer. Sorry, guys. I thought I saved it. And 2024 mpox strain. Question PDF. Okay, here it is. All right. This was from the U.S. GOP. They, on June 11th, 2024, the Republicans from the Energy Committee released an interim staff report on NIH misconduct and inadequate oversight involving research. Okay, so this is where I want to respond to the article that Melissa posted saying, no shit, Sherlock. Okay, but here's what could... This is the thing that concerns me, but I don't want... Like, you guys, don't have any fear with what they're doing. They're going to try all kinds of shenanigans, and they're going to fail, and they're going to have a boomerang, and they're being exposed. So now I'll get back to the PDF. I just wanted to show that this was on the official energycommerce.house.gov website. And this PDF is interesting. So it's an interim staff report on investigation into risky MPXV experiment at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. I highlighted what I want to talk about, so this shouldn't take too long, but it's very interesting. All right. And let me see if I've got... 2024. This report's from 2024, even though they're referring to 2022. All right. A September 15th, 2022 Science Magazine article on MPXV included an interview with Dr. Bernard Moss, a preeminent pox virologist who has worked for decades at NIAID and is an NIH distinguished investigator. So he was interviewed for Science Magazine. In the interview, Dr. Moss noted he and his colleagues had swapped dozens of genes from the much more transmissible but less deadly clade 2 MPXV into the more deadly clade 1 MPXV. The article stated that the Moss team was planning to try the opposite, endowing clade 2 virus with genes from its deadlier relative. Why would they want to do this, guys? Why would they want to do this? This is a GOP Congress House.gov report. The proposal to transfer genes from the deadlier Clade 1 into the more transmissible Clade 2 alarmed some scientists who believed a more potent version of the mpox outbreak strain could spark an epidemic that would be substantially more lethal. And that's the question I have. Are they trying to create a monkeypox strain that is more lethal, even though we know today it's not, and that there are treatments for it? It's because I think it's like a 0.5% of people die from monkeypox. It's not, it's like 99.95% or something like that survivable. All right. And then they go on to say the experiment appeared to qualify as gain-of-function research. Obviously, if that's what they're doing, that's the entire definition of gain-of-function. It also appeared to implicate federal policies or practices regarding dual-use research of concern, DURC, by utilizing gene transferring techniques that, if misapplied, pose a significant threat to public health and human safety. Over a period of 18 months, the Department of Health and Human Services, the NIH, and NIAID repeatedly obstructed and misled the committee about whether the transfer of genes from Clade 1 into Clade 2 experiments described by Dr. Moss had been approved or even conducted at all. So they're asking, number one, did that get approved? Number two, did you conduct the experiment? They refuse to answer. Just those are basic questions they should be able to answer. Wait till I get to the last part. The HHS and NIH refused to answer any questions about the research. HHS also refused to provide most of the requested documents that the committee asked for, unless those documents were already made public. So I'm just going to scroll past there. This is a 73-page report. I'm not going through the whole thing. All right. The obstruction and misrepresentations by the agencies involved is also concerning if the experiment, in fact, never occurred. So what they're trying to say is they want to have confidence that the experiment did not occur, because they were told that, but they weren't given any documentation or any information on whether it occurred. And so if it didn't occur, it's even more concerning that they would hold back information, because if it didn't occur, obviously they'd be an open book. Yeah, come see what we're doing, see what we're talking about, check our emails. You know, we decided we weren't going to do this, you know. So basically they're saying that's even more concerning, because if it never occurred, because it illustrates the lengths to which NIAID would go to evade oversight just for the sake of evasion. Here's the thing. I'm almost done with this part, and then we're going to move on. The primary conclusion drawn at this point in the investigation is that NIAID cannot be trusted to oversee its own research. Obviously. It cannot be trusted to determine whether an experiment on potential pandemic pathogen or enhanced potential pandemic pathogen poses unacceptable biosafety risk or a serious public health risk. Now remember, during and post-pandemic, like BioClandestine posted all this information on all the biolabs in Ukraine, and that's what led us to find out what Fauci was doing, how we learned that gain of function was happening. Like, that was crazy. And guess what else? This is super crazy. This is my last part of this article, or this PDF. Under both the 2017 policy and the new 2024 policy, for the vast majority of experiments involving potentially dangerous pathogens like mpox, the agency conducting the experiment is also tasked with regulating and overseeing the experiment. They're policing themselves. In almost any other scientific field or industry, this arrangement would be immediately recognized as conflict of interest. So Congress is trying to have oversight because these organizations shouldn't be able to police themselves. They just shouldn't. So, all right. So that's sort of a preview and kind of sets up the bioweapon stuff that I've got. One second. I got to get to my... Where's one? Where's my bioweapons one? Oh, here it is. All right. Oh shoot. I have to apologize to you guys. I have so much. Okay, I am going to give credit before I play a couple of videos. This video, Carrie led me to, and it was from BioClandestine. He had a post just sharing about how Trump is pulling in Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr., and it's interesting because they both have talked about this stuff. So the first video, I pulled two clips from BioClandestine's video. The first one I'm going to share is Tulsi. Let's play her real quick.
U.S. funded, DOD funded biolabs in Ukraine that should be secured because there's a war going on over there, and the last thing we or the world needs is anything going on in those biolabs being unleashed in a way that could pose a threat to people. That was seen as...
but I should just say, you weren't guessing.
No.
You got that, or it was confirmed in any case, in a public exchange in the Senate between Marco Rubio of Florida, the sitting Republican senator, and Victoria Nuland, the Undersecretary of State, who volunteered it on camera.
Yes.
So this is when Tucker interviewed her last March. And what Tucker's referring to is this.
Minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
Groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon...
Sorry. Anyway, I just wanted to point out the fact that, she was in the hearing and he was interviewing her. It's a little longer, and we're getting kind of long in this show, so I'm going to move on. But then also, so I showed Tulsi, which was Clandestine's clip, and then I have two more related to RFK Jr. and when Tucker interviewed him. And this is also from the same clip that BioClandestine had, but I wanted to chat a little bit about it. But it's really interesting that Victoria Nuland would not use the term weapon. Did you guys notice that? I tried to highlight it on the clip, but she wouldn't use the term weapon. So, all right, let's get to RFK Jr.
Victoria Nuland kind of blithely announced during congressional testimony last year that, oh, by the way, we have these biolabs in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of ignored, and the people who covered it got attacked for covering it. But the fact remains there are U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. Why would we have biolabs in Ukraine?
We have biolabs in Ukraine because we're developing bioweapons. And, and those bioweapons are using all kinds of new synthetic biology and CRISPR technology and genetic engineering techniques that were not available to previous generation. And they can make frightening stuff.
Yeah, that CRISPR technology and the genetic technology that they're using now in vaccines is crazy. All right, so then he... just want to make sure I have the right video here. This is interesting what he says here. He talks about how normally doctors, they want to save lives. They want to find a cure for cancer. Like, everybody has these good intentions going into being a doctor, but these folks, they're doing pretty much the opposite.
When the Patriot Act reopened the bioweapons arms race in 2001, the Pentagon began putting a lot of money into bioweapons, but they were nervous at that time because if you violate the Geneva Convention, it's a hanging offense. And they weren't sure that that provision in the Patriot Act would actually hold up as a loophole to treaties that had been ratified by Congress. So in order to deploy one offensively, you need a vaccine. There's 36,000 what are called life scientists, but they're actually death scientists, who are now employed full-time in developing, microbes that can be used to kill people.
Yeah, so they're doing like the opposite. And what's interesting is, how many years ago was this? 10 years ago, I think. The CDC just happened to come across in a storage closet in a box vials of smallpox vaccine that they didn't know existed. They weren't tracking it. They didn't know existed. I've got a news clip from that reporting on this. And I want you to pay attention to some of the details of what he says here. Actually, I should tell you what details to pay attention to, because they talked about sealing the vials and freeze drying the specimens, and later on, but yet still say they were found in some storage closet when they said they needed to stay frozen for some reason, but they were found in a storage closet in a box. This whole thing about finding these vials of smallpox makes no sense, but you have to hear this.
Smallpox was one of the most frightening diseases the world has known. It killed at least 300 million people in the last century before it was eradicated. So it came as quite a surprise when the U.S. government revealed yesterday that vials of smallpox had been forgotten for decades and were just discovered in a cardboard box. The big question now is whether the virus is alive, and Dr. John LaPook learned more today from the scientist heading the investigation.
The vials of smallpox are currently being tested in a level 4 high containment laboratory at the CDC in Atlanta. That is the agency's most secure facility. You can only gain entry through a special eye scan. Steve Monroe runs the Division of High Consequence Pathogens.
Is it possible the smallpox can still grow?
It's possible, but we don't know for sure if the smallpox virus in these samples will still be able to grow in the laboratory.
What's your guess?
I will not be surprised if one or more of these samples contains live growing smallpox virus.
But then you're going to destroy it and it'll be gone forever?
We will destroy it and it will be gone forever.
It was July 1st when a lab worker at the National Institutes of Health found the smallpox vials while cleaning out a storage refrigerator. The vials appeared to date back to the 1950s. From that moment, the CDC, NIH, FBI, FDA, and World Health Organization worked closely to develop a plan of action. The White House was immediately informed that a potential agent of bioterrorism had been found.
What was the security involved in moving the samples from Bethesda, Maryland to the CDC?
The security involved the cooperation of the FBI as well as local law enforcement, and so there was ground transport to the appropriate air assets that were provided by FBI.
Monroe says the trickiest part was making sure nothing happened to the fragile glass vials that had likely been stored for 50 to 60 years.
How could this have happened?
I think this is one of those flukes. It's sort of the trunk that's in the attic that nobody's looked at for many, many years.
Are you asking lab directors to go through their inventories, look under the tables, look in the closets?
Certainly one of the lessons learned from this episode is that laboratories around the world should have a firm idea of what they have in their collections, and that people should make an effort to do a complete inventory.
The material in the vials was freeze-dried and the end of each glass tube sealed shut with a flame. In all 6 vials of smallpox, the seal was intact.
John, why does Steve Monroe think some of the virus may still be alive?
Well, there are instances of the past where vaccine against smallpox, and that contains live virus, was freeze-dried, it was sealed shut just in a similar fashion, and then it was stored for 20 years or longer. It was reconstituted, and it was still infectious. So the question is, how long was the current sample stored at 5 degrees centigrade, and was it ever at room temperature, and will it at the end of the day be able to be infectious? We still have to see.
And then they're going to destroy it.
Absolutely.
John, thanks very much.
Do you believe that? Do you believe they would destroy it? And why would they test it to see if it was still viable, instead of just going through whatever process you would go through to destroy it? Why wouldn't they just destroy it? Why take that chance and transport it somewhere else and then do testing on it? Isn't that a crazy story? That's from 10 years ago. 6 files. Just kind of crazy. All right. So then the last one that I have is CDC responded to that. So I'm just going to pull up this was their response. There is no indication anyone has been exposed to the small number of frozen vials. That was related to that. All right, that's what I have on the bioweapons. I just have one more thing I want to go through, and it's related to Zuckerberg. And the whole reason, this is the last thing I'm going to go through, so I'm sorry this was super long show. Zuckerberg recently was talking about, or he put out a statement or letter or whatever, saying that, he has regrets for the censorship that Facebook did during the pandemic and all of that. And I've just been like, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, why did he do that? Why did he put that letter out? And then we have the clip of him talking about the censorship that happened. I'm actually going to break down this clip. I'm going to first show the whole clip, and then I'm just going to talk about it in little chunks, and then share my thought on I find the timing very interesting. And then we can close out the show. All right, let's watch this full clip. It's 45 seconds long.
So misinformation has been a really tricky one, because there are things that are kind of obviously false, that are maybe factual, but may not be harmful. So it's like, all right, are you going to censor someone for just being wrong? It's, if there's no kind of harm implication of what they're doing, there's a bunch of real kind of issues and challenges there. But then I think that there are other places where it is, just take some of the stuff around COVID earlier on in the pandemic, where there were, real health implications, but there hadn't been time to fully vet a bunch of the scientific assumptions. And, unfortunately, I think a lot of the kind of establishment on that, kind of waffled on a bunch of facts and, asked for a bunch of things to be censored that in retrospect ended up being, more debatable or true. And that stuff is really tough, right? And really undermines trust.
Crazy statement. Kind of. All right. So I actually had to shrunk the video down because he says, just like I do, I say so and he does that a lot too. So I broke it down. I just want to talk about all of the things I want to touch on because he kind of talks fast and he says some things that are so creepy. I don't know did you guys notice the creepiness of what he actually was saying? For instance, he said that misinformation is tricky. The reason I want to talk about this is because I feel like it's super related to anything they might want to try with any kind of epidemic or pandemic or bioweapon or fake for an emergency, because big tech and mainstream media went along with it, and if it wasn't for them, none of the pain that people went through would have happened. Like, the government would not have gotten away with what they got away with. And big tech was a huge part of that. They censored truth. And anyway, so the first thing is the misinformation is tricky.
Information has been a really tricky one.
How is it even tricky? I posted earlier, when I posted this thing, I said, there's nothing tricky about it. It's just you let people talk and make up their own minds as to, what's true, what's false. But that's the other thing he talked about. He says, well, information was false but factual. He said both false and factual. Did you guys catch that?
There are things that are kind of obviously false, that are maybe factual, but may not be harmful.
That are obviously false. Wait a minute. I got to listen to that.
Because there are
again.
things that are kind of obviously false, that are maybe factual, but may not be harmful.
That are obviously false, but may be factual. But the thing that got me here, and this is why I underline not, may not be harmful. So he's saying if he thought it was harmful, he still would do it. But what's really harmful, the only thing that should be censored is if somebody's threatening another person's life, or if a child is being harassed online. That's it. That's it. And obviously gore and whatever is illegal, whatever else is illegal. But if somebody's life is threatened, or somebody threatens violence against somebody, or a child is being harassed online, nothing else needs to be censored. Nothing. So for him to say this is so creepy. I don't know if you guys got the creeps, but I got the creeps. And the next one is talking about how they censored people for what they considered as being wrong, but they censored people who weren't wrong.
Are you going to censor someone for just being wrong? It's, if there's no kind of harm implication of what they're doing, all right, are you going to...
That's the harm. If there's no harm implication, so he's saying if there is harm, what is harm? What? Harm might be somebody not getting a vaccine because somebody's giving them alternate information. Like, what do they consider harm? They overuse that word, harm. They way overuse it. The other thing he said is that it's challenging. I don't know why he considers this a challenge at all. Like, it should be super easy to put in open, free speech moderation policies. I just don't get it.
Real kind of issues and challenges there.
And he's talking about how there's challenges and talking about vetting information. It is not Facebook, Meta. It's not their job to vet information.
I think that there are other places where it is, just take some of the stuff around COVID earlier on in the pandemic, where there were, real health implications, but there hadn't been time to fully vet a bunch of the scientific assumptions. And
there hadn't been time to vet. That's not your job, Mark. That is not your job. So it's not up to Facebook to determine what information is true and what's not. I mean, how many scientific papers might contradict other scientific papers for all kinds of stuff? For instance, you have to go watch our show about how old is the Earth. There are scientists who believe in evolution. There are other scientists who believe in creation. So if the science says evolution is real and we post about creation, are they going to take it down because we might be wrong? They might think we're wrong, even though we're not. And then he goes on to not take accountability, and he points the finger at the government.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of the kind of establishment on that, kind of waffled on a bunch of facts and, asked for a bunch of things to be censored.
Asked for a bunch of things to be censored. If I owned a business and the government even wanted to talk to me, I'd say, get out. I'm not talking to you. You can't put in any requests. Unless you've got a criminal investigation going on and I have a subpoena from a judge, I'm not talking to you. I just don't get how these big tech companies were talking to the government. All right, I just have one more. Sorry. This one, I just can't even believe it.
It ended up being, more debatable or true. And that stuff is really tough, right? And really undermines trust.
If something is debatable, seriously? Okay, I'm sorry. I had to go on a rant with him. I had to. All right, so I find it interesting, the timing of all of this, because if you recall, I'm going to pull up my screen. Google, on this was reported on August 5th. The Supreme Court said that they violated, like they were a monopoly. So not the Supreme Court, sorry, a federal judge. I think it will go to the Supreme Court, but the federal judge said that they were a monopoly. That just happened on August 5th. What else happened recently, guys? The CEO of Telegram was just arrested in France. And this is related to him not moderating appropriately as far as France's standards go. And accusing him of having responsibility for some of the stuff that was posted. And so that happened as well. And then we get this Mark Zuckerberg letter, which is interesting. It's really interesting. Back in 2021, the New York Times had this article. Why is big tech policing speech? Because the government isn't. This is New York Times. So they want the government policing speech, but since the government won't, big tech has to. Even though it was the government pulling the strings behind the scenes. All right, so Google, and then this also is a new article posted 10 hours ago. Big tech defends free speech amid government pressure. Kind of interesting. The long-standing tension between censorship versus safety online is coming to a head as CEOs start to publicly push back. What is going on, guys? All of this is in the month of August here. all of that. The timing is really interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? Oh, Schmuck is a cuck. Who's Schmuck? Is that Zuck? Is Zuck a schmuck? And you're calling him a cuck? Pocket Friend asks, I wonder if his handlers made him do this. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, his stuff doesn't make sense, but even more so than that, I find it creepy. I find it sort of dystopian, what he's saying. I don't know if you guys caught the dystopian nature of what he's saying. So he's trying to apologize for censoring, and yet in the same breath, talk about like harm and that kind of stuff. So, oh, In God We Trust, you said, what was the date of these being found? Just wondering who was president. I don't know what you're referring to. Can you repost in chat what you were referring to, and I'll give you the dates? Sorry about that. Oh, Zuck is the schmuck. Zuck the schmuck. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I find the timing really interesting. This was from August 6th. Big tech reform is coming from the courts and not from Congress. Is that good? So, did I highlight anything in here? Yes, I did. I wanted to call out just a couple of things that were here, and then we are done. This week's Google ruling came out of a lawsuit first filed by Trump's department. Oh, this is what's interesting. The Google lawsuit was one filed by the Trump's Department of Justice. The Trump-era Federal Trade Commission also filed a suit against Meta. This is why I found this interesting, because Mark Zuckerberg, he knows what just happened with Google, and they also filed a lawsuit with Meta. And Joe Biden's administration also brought charges against Amazon and Apple, along with another case against Google. Biden administration refiled Trump's Meta case after a court turned the first attempt away. And then it says Biden administration used the courts in another way too. It's either sued or threatened to sue to stop a whole series of big tech acquisitions. What the heck is going on? Because the Biden administration has been in with big tech. They're the ones who were making the demands of big tech. Are there a couple of agencies that are like head to head against each other? I just found that to be amazing. Pretty amazing. And I did post that Biden continued the Trump lawsuit, but it was interesting to me that there's also a Meta one, and Amazon and Apple are being sued by the Biden administration, and they're continuing the lawsuits against Google and Meta. So that's all I got, guys. Oh, the vials of smallpox. I think it was 10 years ago in 2024 or 2014. But let me get the exact date for you. I think I have my video references. I'll look that quick before we... let me see if I've got that. If I don't, I'll find it. I do believe it was either 2012 or 2014. So I'll follow up with you in chat, okay? And yeah, so that's all I have. I apologize. This is extra long, and I don't know why when I research I go down these rabbit holes, and I don't mean for them to get so big, but this brings us to the end of this episode, and I hope you enjoyed learning more about it. Next week, I believe I talked about sharing my eczema experience and what I learned through research to make it go away, which is about my health and what I did. And so I'm going to share that next week with you guys. I will not be having a Meme Wars this weekend, so we will have it the following weekend after next Tuesday's show, which would be, the date would be the 7th of September. I want to thank everybody too for your support during my difficult times. It's been, you have no idea how much I appreciate everybody. It has been tough for me and financially really tough. So I really appreciate not only the prayers, which mean the most. Obviously, the prayers mean the most. The power of prayer is so awesome. But also the financial support. A lot of people have been buying me coffees. I really appreciate it. You guys are such great friends. And I hope, I hope maybe next year, after we get through the election and Trump is in office, maybe we can have like a little Patriot get together or something. I want to meet some of you guys and give you a hug because I do appreciate it. And I'm going to get teared up if I don't go now. But I do want to remind you to please give the video a thumbs up because that helps the algorithms on social media and on Rumble. Give it a thumbs up and a like so that more people see it on YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble if you are on those platforms. And we will see you next week. Thanks everybody for joining. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be